Pam Gregory, astrologer. I'm going to be speaking to you today mainly about the first half of July and the new moon that we have in Cancer coming up on the 9th or 10th, depending on where in the world you live. But I'm also going to be referring to some really looking down the timeline for several months. Excuse my burst lip. It's much better now. I took a bit of a tumble and there was a lot of blood, and I actually thought I'd broken my front teeth, which would have been magnificent. That was on the full supermoon Capricorn, and with this square, of course, Saturn teeth to Uranus broken. That was certainly a potential, but anyway, no real damage done. So apologies if it looks a bit swollen. Okay, let me get into this. Really, for the next few months at the 3D level, the next few months, I believe, are going to be very dynamic, very fast moving, very fast changing, and often quite turbulent and chaotic at that 3D level, because the energies are extremely strong. We are really seeing the acceleration of the demolition of the old order, at the same time as we're seeing the acceleration of the evolution of the new. So they're clashing, if you like, they're happening in parallel and obviously linked to each other. The evolution is accelerating the collapse of the old. So be very aware that that's happening. And really this is very clearly signaled by the two long-running squares that we have all of this year. We have Eris in Aries, square to Pluto in Capricorn. We had it all of 2020. We've got it until its final exact square in October of this year. We have also Saturn in Aquarius, square to Uranus in Taurus. That's going to continue all of this year. And it is going to continue next year, although more loosely. And it isn't going to come back to exactitude by degree and minute. It's only going to come back to exactitude by degree at 18 degrees of Aquarius Taurus in October 2022, but we'll still have similar themes next year. So both of those long-running squares, which really dominate this year, are very much about the theme of revolution versus repression. And I think that's very clear to see in our world. For July has a very strong theme around power and power issues. So keep that in your mind as we go through this video and indeed the next one about the second half of July. So right at the beginning of the month, we're continuing the very strong T-square, which we had in the last few days of June. And this is Mars now at 12 degrees of Leo, which is opposing Saturn at 12 degrees of Aquarius, exactly on the 1st of July. And then they are both squaring Uranus. Mars is squaring it exactly on the 3rd of July, 13 of Leo Taurus. So this is a very tight T-square. Now, Mars is much more comfortable in Leo, a fixed fire sign, than it was in Cancer. So it is much more assertive in terms of its courage. Leo is linked to courage, assertive of its needs. So Mars and Uranus have some similarities. They like to work quickly. They demand freedom. They're strong in terms of their individualism, and they want their needs met. They want to push forwards quickly, but they're running up against Saturn, which is the planet of constraint, and say, no, there are rules, there are regulations. We've got to slow down. We've got to think of, security and safety of all. So because these are in fixed signs, there is a great deal of tension here. So with this long-running square of Saturn-Uranus, Mars here in the T-square is energizing that Mars-Saturn square. So as I've often spoken in the past, this is a classical signature for earthquakes, political earthquakes, financial earthquakes, volcanoes, cyber attacks, internet cutouts, sudden shocks and surprises, market volatility for sure, economic volatility. So all and any of those things may be manifesting as we go through July. I think financial volatility is actually very likely. So the systems, think of systems, almost any system you can name. as we go through the next few years, while Pluto is still moving through the final degrees of Capricorn until it fully moves into Aquarius in 2024, I think we will see radical change in our educational system, our financial system, our legal system, our medical system, even in our agricultural system for sure, because Uranus, the planet of revolution, is in the sign of Taurus, which is to do with food supply and agriculture. So expect all of that to happen. We're in an accelerated phase of revolution and evolution. That T-square will still be felt for a few days after the 3rd, and on the 4th, the moon is exactly conjunct Uranus in Taurus. Now, the moon in mundane astrology represents the people, and Uranus is a revolutionary energy. This is to do with the maverick and the rule smasher, never wanting to obey the rules. So we may feel at this time perhaps less obedient or less compliant as we go into the 4th. So these early days of July are extremely dynamic. You've got squares, we've got strong archetypes in clash to each other, in hard aspect to each other. Then we go into our new moon, which is happening on the 9th of July. It's happening at 6:16 p.m. Pacific, and it's happening the next day at 2:16 a.m. So that's 6:16 p.m. Pacific, and then the next day, the 10th, at 2:16 a.m. UK time. This is happening at 18 degrees and 1 minute of Cancer. So see where this falls in your chart, because this is a perfect time to plant a new seed, set a new intention for what you want to manifest in your life. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you can download a free birth chart from my website, pamgregory.com. Then go to this link above. You can buy a 2-part video series from my store, which will explain everything you need to know about how to find these placements in your own chart and what it means for you every time I do these. Now, here we have another T-square, because the sun and moon, which are always together at a new moon at 18 of Cancer, are opposing Pluto at 25 of Capricorn, and they are all squaring Eris at 24:46, or almost 25 degrees of Aries. And so this new moon is really highlighting that Pluto-Eris long-running square. So let me just remind you of the Eris archetype. I've spoken about her before. She's the goddess of discord. She's the sister of Mars. She's known as the female awakener. And in myth, she was the only goddess that wasn't invited to the big wedding of the gods and goddesses on Mount Olympus. So she turned up anyway and created mayhem. She threw a golden apple into the crowd of ladies and goddesses who all started to squabble with each other about who was the fairest, because she'd thrown the golden apple in saying for the fairest. And those actions, it is said, led ultimately to the Trojan War. So she gives not a jot for her consequences. She's about truth, integrity, and waking people up so their needs are being heard by those in society, perhaps those governing. So that's what her principle is about. She's a feisty street fighter. And so she takes to the streets. This square was operating all through 2020. We've seen hundreds of protests all over the world. And people take to the streets in demonstrations and protests, but there's a clash. They're running up against that square of top-down authority, Pluto in Capricorn. So this is going to continue all through this year. As I say, the last exact square is in October of this year. So this new moon is highlighting this. Eris is barely moving all through July. It has a 560-year orbit anyway, barely moving the whole month of July, and it comes to station to move retrograde on the 21st of July, when that archetype will be magnified even more. So we can expect that. Now, some of us are going to step into that archetype of Eris during these times. Other people are going to operate as healers, as therapists, as communicators, as we go through these massive times of transition. So coming back to this new moon in Cancer, where we have this very strong aspect, Cancer is a very sensitive, loving, gentle sign. It's very much about the home and family, and it's a very protective energy. Think of the, it's symbolized by the crab, the hard shell of the crab around the soft belly underneath. So there's a desire to protect the family and protect those you love. And because Pluto in Capricorn is opposing the sun and moon in this super sensitive sign of Cancer, oppositions in astrology are often when we feel that opposing archetype coming at us from the outside. So Pluto in Capricorn is very much about power and control. So there may be a feeling of power coming at us, or something, someone or something, could be in our personal lives or on the public stage, that is overpowering, overlording, overbearing in some way. It can be really quite tough, this energy. It can feel absolutely too much for us sometimes in that sensitivity. However, and there may be a desire because of that Cancer energy just to hunker down and stay small, stay safe. It's very much about our sense of emotional security at this time too. However, power is a seesaw. And if we give away our power to external authority, we are going to step much more into that victim mode of staying small because we've given away that power. If we take back our power, and Pluto in Capricorn also represents our inner authority, our sense of center, our sense of anchor, our sense of being a creator, then we step into that empowered sense of I am a creator of my life. So it's just a seesaw. So really recognize this in these times of big power issues, recognize that. I think the other important thing that I've been very aware of with this new moon, new beginning in Cancer, because Cancer is very much about the family, as we know, because of the increasing amount of Aquarian energy we have coming up in the next few years. We have Saturn in Aquarius already. Jupiter is retrograding back to Aquarius on the 29th of July. Pluto is starting to move into Aquarius during 2023. This to me is suggesting that it won't just be our family as our biological family, which of course you will always have, but increasingly it will be other people who are part of our community, our tribe, our like-minded connections. So this is a family of frequency. Just start to think that you are building a family of frequency as we go through these coming years, because that's how I think it's going to be more and more strongly. And what's interesting as well at this new moon is Mercury is exactly opposite the galactic center. Mercury is at 27 of Gemini, galactic center at 27 of Sagittarius. We may be getting a lot of high-level information coming in for us at this time. It's also not just a T-square, it's actually a cardinal grand cross, because we have Haumea, that wonderful dwarf planet which is linked to the Hawaiian goddess of fertility, at 26 degrees of Libra. So we have Sun, Moon, 18 of Cancer, squaring Haumea, 26 of Libra, squaring Eris at almost 25 of Aries, and Sun, Moon opposing Pluto. So it's a cardinal grand cross. So the Eris-Pluto side, as I've often spoken, is really the acceleration of the demolition, whereas Haumea, I believe, is one of our very strong symbols of new Earth. Remember, she's a regenerative principle. She's highly creative. She has a shamanic instinctive connection to the earth. With her magic stick, the Makalai, in the myth, she was able to simply summon wild food, wild seafood. Even if the land had been laid waste by poor agricultural practices, she could just use her magic stick to summon wild food, to make sure that no one starved. To me, the Makalai, this magic stick, represents for us our increased ability to set clear intentions and to manifest. because this is manifestation from frequency, not manifestation in the 3D way of pushing and having to do steps A, B, C, D, and having to wait and time, linear time. This is an instant frequency match. That's what Homea is going to teach us. So this is the symbol, one of the key symbols of the birth of new earth. As the old collapses, the new is being born. So I think that's very exciting when we consider it that way. Other important aspects we have at this new moon, we have Mercury is now moving direct. It started to move direct on the 22nd of June. And it is still, however, so that helps our clarity, our mental clarity. However, it is still being very tightly squared by Neptune. That square will continue until the 11th of July, and it becomes exact again. Neptune in Pisces squaring Mercury in Gemini becomes exact again on the 6th of July. Neptune at this new moon is also trine, very positive aspect, to the Sun and Moon in Cancer. Neptune, 23 degrees of Pisces, Sun, Moon at 18 of Cancer. So all of this is beautiful for your imagination, for your creativity, for bringing in a sense of beauty and very high level thinking, altered states, really quite beautiful. However, as we've spoken before, this can often be things are not as they seem, or what's true and what's not, or misinformation and disinformation, that foggy slipperiness around facts and information. So Neptune calls us to rely on our intuition, to know the truth, to step back to our intuition. So, however, that square starts to move on as Mercury rolls on very quickly over the next few days, and that square kind of breaks up and we'll get more clarity from Mercury. In fact, by the 12th, Jupiter in early Pisces is trine to Mercury as it just enters Cancer, 0 of Cancer. That's on the 12th. So this is a beautiful trine aspect. This enables us to think big, much bigger ideas, bigger visions of our future. And because Jupiter is in Pisces, this is our future with greater spiritual meaning. And it's beautiful, with greater spiritual meaning. Jupiter is still conjunct Fomalhaut, one of the 4 royal stars of Persia, which is at 3 degrees of Pisces. Jupiter's at 1 degree. This is still really beautiful. This is high level, beautiful information. Mercury is actually on the world axis, that's 0 of Cancer. The world axis, or the Aries point. The world axis is at 0 of the cardinals. So when a planet is anywhere between 28 of the mutables and 2 of the cardinals, but it's exact at 0 of the cardinals, something comes onto the public stage. So something could be revealed for us onto the public stage at this time. It'd be interesting to see. Another really lovely aspect that only happens every couple of years is we have a conjunction between Venus and Mars in Leo, in mid-Leo. At the time of this new moon, we have Venus at 15 of Leo and Mars at 17 of Leo. And Venus moves on to 17 by the 13th of July and becomes exact. This is still a very tight conjunction. So this is heart energy. Leo is heart energy. And so see where mid-Leo falls in your chart. If it falls in your 5th house or your 7th house of your birth chart, this could, and you're looking for a new relationship, this could very much bring in a new relationship for you. Beautiful. It's a really strong indicator of that. So it's really here that Venus has now replaced Mars in that T-square right at the beginning of the month. Mars has moved on really out of that T-square now. So with Venus, yes, as I say, there could be romantic involvement here, but Venus really adds probability to financial volatility here, because Venus is linked to wealth and currencies. And so Venus is opposing Saturn, and they are both squaring Uranus here. So another strong suggestion of some kind of radical change happening in the financial markets. I think that probability is getting stronger and stronger, because as I've mentioned before, Saturn Uranus hard aspects in themselves are linked to that kind of volatility. So we're going to have a lot going on here. And remember that whatever role you see yourself in society as we move through these huge times of change, remember to recharge yourself, cultivate your inner resources and your inner spiritual practice. So you know what that is, whether it's breath work, whether it's candle gazing, whether it's listening to sacred music. For me, it tends to be very much in nature. And as often as I can, I will sit in nature, bare feet on the grass, so I can suck up all those healing ions from the earth. I'll shut my eyes, I'll imagine, I'll actually ask for new crystalline light to come in through my crown chakra, new crystalline light to come in through my crown chakra. And quite quickly, I'll start to feel a kind of heat or tingling in my crown chakra. And I can almost kind of perceive this column of sort of buzzy diamond light coming down. And I imagine it's coming down in a core, almost in a column. And I sort of try and anchor it into the earth. And when it feels stabilized, I then try and radiate it out to the collective. And in doing that, you're not only making your energy more coherent, and of course, obviously raising your frequency, you are also expanding your heart field massively. So just doing that simple thing for free whenever you get the chance is a fabulous practice. And the more you do it, the more quickly you'll start to feel that light and energy coming in. These are our new crystalline light codes. And if we kind of acknowledge them and link to them, we'll start to connect to them in a much more regular way day to day. And that can only be of benefit to us. Something else I want to say here, and I was reminded about this by astrologer Barbara Hand-Clough the other day. And whenever we're looking at two planets, outer planets particularly, we're looking at a sort of double planetary cycle. And here I want to focus on Saturn and Uranus, because that's what's playing out this year for us, and to some degree next year too. So the cycle always begins for astrologers when these planets become conjunct. So Saturn and Uranus were conjunct in October 88. So that was the conjunction. They then moved to the kind of 3 o'clock position, which is the first square, which they did in around 2000. They then moved to the opposition. Saturn has a 29-year cycle. Uranus has an 84-year orbit, so Saturn's obviously moving much more quickly. So Saturn was opposing Uranus in 2008, 2009. Remember what I was saying about hard aspects are linked to financial volatility. We are now in that closing square, because Saturn is coming back up to that final 90 degrees, where it is now to the original conjunction point, and they will conjunct again in, interestingly enough, 2032, which in ancient prophecy, many people feel is the beginning of the golden age. That's very interesting. But coming back to 1988, that conjunction of Saturn and Uranus was on the galactic center, 27 degrees of Sagittarius, smack on the galactic center. So when we have these repeating planetary cycles, yes, we always look back to what happened last time with Saturn-Uranus cycles, but it isn't, and yes, they always vortex upwards, but it isn't just same old, same old. We have a new added dimension, if you like, here, which is the galactic. We are becoming galactic citizens. Indeed, new moon in Cancer, can we get a greater sense of the galactic family? More and more people are channeling galactic beings. Many of my close friends channel galactic beings, becoming much more common. And when we have these cycles, at the first square, the 3 o'clock position, we start to get a better idea of what the cycle's about. Now, around the year 2000, a lot of Kuiper belt objects, dwarf planets beyond the orbit of Neptune and Pluto, were starting to be discovered around that time. I've talked about many of them in the past. If you go into my video, New new astrological archetypes, I think I called it, I talk about them there. And that came from a lot of the research of Kelly Hunter in the States. So that first square to the original conjunction point of 88 was now happening at around 2000. So certainly I think that was telling us that galactic was one of the key themes of this cycle. We are now at the 9 o'clock position. And I think this year we're going to see a lot more disclosure around galactic issues, let's say. So this is very exciting. So if you can just think of the family as a family of frequency that you are creating, but also even step beyond that as thinking of it as a galactic family. You know, reach out, because what we are going through, I mean, recognize the enormity of what we are going through right now and see your role. What is your role in what is undeniably a massive wave of evolution for humanity? Absolutely, no doubt about it. So get clear on your role, feed the future, feed that future vision. And I know for all of us, really, it's largely invisible because it's never been created before. So in this odd limbo situation of watching our old house be demolished and standing amidst the rubble, kind of thinking, what now? But we'd never want to build the old again, because part of the Saturn Uranus square is consciousness that we have already outgrown. Uranus shows us what we have outgrown. Thought patterns, Aquarius, Saturn in Aquarius, are what we have already outgrown. So we can't go back. So use your precious energy, this new crystalline energy, light codes that are coming in right now, to create a magnificent future. And the more of us do that, the faster this is going to happen. So a lot to share there. I hope it's been helpful for you. Cultivate your inner world and your spiritual practice in these wild times that we're riding. If you'd like more information about my books, my videos, my very long monthly newsletter, just check out my website, pamgregory.com. And thanks so much for listening. Bye for now.